The most decisive week of the season began with twists and turns, positive signs, worrying warnings, and decisions that could define the franchise's future both in the playoffs and beyond. Jim Harbaugh broke his silence before Wednesday's practice, Justin Herbert returned to shooting, important names appeared, and others simply disappeared from the field. And as if that weren't enough, a possible serious injury could completely change the plans against the Patriots, while the future of the offensive line is already being strongly discussed for the draft. Before all this, subscribe to our channel and activate notifications, because every detail of this news is connected, and all of this can explain how the Chargers got here and what might happen next. Before Wednesday's practice, Coach Jim Harbaugh released the traditional weekly list of available players, and it brought a clear mix of good news with important warnings for the Chargers. Safety Elijah Molden, left tackle Jamaree Salyer, center Bradley Bozeman, and cornerback Donte Jackson participated normally in the activities. On the other hand, running back Omarion Hampton, edge rusher Bud Dupree, wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith, and safety Kendall Williamson were absent from practice. And here's the first major hook of the week. Those who couldn't practice now could directly impact Sunday's game and even the continuation of the season in the playoffs. In addition, the Chargers officially opened the return window for tight end Tucker Fisk, who was on the injured reserve list. This move was only possible because the team received 2 extra injured reserve activation slots for reaching the playoffs. It's worth remembering that throughout the 2025 regular season, the Chargers had already used all 8 permitted IR activations. In other words, from this point on, each return is carefully calculated, strategic, and extremely valuable to the roster. If there's one name that really excited the coaching staff, that name is Jamaree Salyer. Even practicing with limitations due to a hamstring injury, Salyer represents something the Chargers have lacked throughout the season. Another very positive sign came with Donte Jackson. The cornerback had suffered an ankle injury in the game against Denver, remained on the bench for the rest of the game, and raised real doubts about his availability for the matchup against the New England Patriots. However, Jackson managed to practice on Wednesday, albeit in a limited way. On the other hand, the main concern of the day is Omarion Hampton. The running back did not participate in practice and was seen working separately with the strength and conditioning coaches. This current ankle injury is not the same one that kept him out for almost 2 months previously. It happened in the game against the Houston Texans, and even then, Hampton managed to stay on the field and play the remainder of the fourth quarter. Among the biggest news of the week is the return of Justin Herbert to midweek practice as the starting quarterback. This was the first time Herbert has returned to practice in this way since the hand injury he suffered against the Raiders. Overall, if Omarion Hampton can return to practice this week, the Chargers' overall injury situation is better than many imagined for such a crucial moment. However, as the season has repeatedly shown, not everything went exactly as planned, and the next chapter of this story may bring new challenges. The Chargers are now preparing to travel to Foxborough, Massachusetts, where they will face the New England Patriots on a cold Sunday night in a traditionally hostile setting that often tests both the physical and mental strength of visiting teams. In Week 18, against the Denver Broncos, the coaching staff's objective was clear from the start: to reach the playoffs as healthy as possible. This decision became necessary because the Chargers' season was deeply marked by injuries, the offensive line became a real nightmare throughout the year, and Justin Herbert had to, at various times, carry practically the entire offense on his shoulders to keep the team competitive. Given this context, Jim Harbaugh and the front office opted to rest players who were dealing with what they called minor injuries. To achieve this, they put Trey Lance as the starting quarterback, fielded a completely reserve offensive line, gave playing time to rookie receivers, and used Keenan Allen primarily to earn him incentive contracts. The strategy was to minimize risks, even if it meant compromising on-field performance. Even so, the Chargers couldn't leave Denver without further problems. Rookie Keandre Lambert-Smith provided an exciting moment with a spectacular reception. Lambert-Smith went for a first down, but soon after suffered a visible thigh injury. And the problem is serious. The injury doesn't seem to be short-term and hits the player's strong point, which is his speed and explosiveness, qualities that make a difference both in returning kicks and playing as a wide receiver on offense. Lambert-Smith's availability for the wildcard game hasn't been officially announced, but everything indicates that it's seriously threatened. As an immediate response, the Chargers decided to re-sign wide receiver and returner Luke Grimm to the practice squad. Grimm came from the University of Kansas, signed with the franchise as an undrafted free agent, participated in training camp, and, throughout the season, was released and re-signed several times. During the preseason, he even returned punts and lined up in kickoff return formations, but never had a real opportunity to play in official games. Unfortunately, Luke Grimm's return is a strong indication that Keandre Lambert-Smith will hardly be available to face the Patriots on Sunday. And if the Chargers advance in the playoffs, there is a possibility that he will also be out for longer, which represents a significant loss for the offensive rotation and special teams. And all this leads us to the last point, perhaps the most revealing of this whole situation. The Chargers tried to reinforce the offensive line by betting on Mekhi Becton, but the reality was harsh. The bet went completely wrong. According to Pro Football Focus data, Becton finished the season occupying only the 79th position among 81 qualified offensive guards. His overall grade was 35.3, almost 20 points below the worst mark he had previously recorded in his career. There is no way to soften this scenario. It was, without a doubt, Mekhi Becton's worst season in the NFL, and this further exposed the fragility of the Chargers' offensive line interior. Faced with this setback, the franchise is already turning its attention to the future, and the draft emerges as a possible solution. In a new simulation by Jordan Reed of ESPN, the Chargers are once again targeting the offensive line. With the 22nd overall pick, the projected name is Kadyn Proctor, an offensive tackle from the University of Alabama, standing at an impressive 7 feet 2 inches, 2.01 meters, tall. Behind the scenes in the NFL, many evaluators believe that Proctor has everything it takes to become an excellent guard at the professional level, although there is skepticism about a direct transition to the tackle position in the NFL. This difficulty in adapting could cause him to drop a few positions in the draft. With the Chargers projected to pick 19th or later, Kadyn Proctor emerges as a realistic and available name when the franchise is on the clock. Jordan Reed also points out that the team may look for a center at some point in the draft or even resort to the free agent market for that position, but reinforcing the interior of the offensive line, especially after the failure of Becton, should be a clear priority in the first round. All of this sends a very clear message to Chargers fans. The present is at stake, but the future has already begun to be shaped now. Jim Harbaugh's decisions at this moment, the impact of injuries, the performance against the New England Patriots, and even the picks in the next draft are all interconnected. What happens this Sunday can, in fact, completely change the course of the franchise. And to conclude, here's the final message, Chargers fans. We've reached the point where every decision counts, every practice matters, and every snap can define not only this game, but the course of the entire season. The duel against the Patriots is not just another playoff game. It's a test of maturity, of overcoming adversity, and of how far this roster can really go, even after so many setbacks. If you want to keep receiving all the exclusive news, complete analysis, and behind-the-scenes content about the Los Angeles Chargers, you know what to do. Leave a like now, because it really helps the channel grow and shows that you want more content like this. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything.